Hello and welcome to this webinar on advanced technical publications, which is in fact using SolidWorks Composer. So for those of you that are new to SolidWorks Composer, what it basically does is allow you to bring in geometry, so solid geometry, or surfaces from many different packages. It could be something like SolidWorks, for instance, or Inventor or CATIA. It can open a various range of data, and then you can use SolidWorks Composer to create things like technical documentation for that product, so assembly instructions or marketing material or anything else that you need to publish for regarding that product. So let's have a look to start with what product I'm going to be bringing into SolidWorks Composer. So let me just flip into SolidWorks and let me just go and load it. So it's this component here. So I've got an assembly here, just wait for it to load, there we go. Basically what this is a garden hose attachment, so it's just basically a water hose. As you can see, let's have a look at the tree very quickly. We've got about let's say roughly about 10 parts in here and then one sub-assembly, and that sub-assembly contains 7 parts there. So I just wanted you guys to take a note of the actual architecture of this assembly, because it's something I'll show you in actual Composer in a minute. So one thing I'm going to do before I just save this assembly and close it so it's ready to be imported into Composer is just to arrange it in the orientation that I want it to be viewed in Composer to start with. So for instance, I want this flow nozzle here to be set to the right, and there's a locking mechanism down here at the moment which is currently on, which I don't want to be on, I want it to be off, so I'm going to push that back up here and then I'm going to save it. So those of you that are familiar with importing files such as step or IGES, especially assembly step or IGES files, you may note that they'll come into the assembly and then all the different parts will be displayed in the tree, similar to this, but there's no mates that come in or anything like that. SolidWorks Composer is very similar to that. The no mates are maintained when it brings in. It's almost like geometry floating in space. So what I'm going to do is just close this, and let's just go and load Composer now. So I might have to go into my desktop to do that. So let's just go and load SolidWorks Composer. There it is. So I'm just going to actually just minimize this window for a second, and I'm just going to load this window here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag in the SolidWorks file, which is this one here. So it's an assembly file. I'm just going to drag it into Composer. And then what it's going to do is going to convert those files, so my SolidWorks parts, so it can be used in SolidWorks Composer. So it will take a few seconds. Let's just wait for it to finish. There we go. So okay, so it does look quite nice in this, just as it comes in normally. Yeah, it's a nice display. So another benefit of SolidWorks Composer is that anyone can really use it. It doesn't regard, it's not regarded as a package that you have to have a lot of training in to be able to do stuff in it. It's very intuitive, very similar to SolidWorks. So the main advantage is you could, if you were to buy it, you could have someone doing the SolidWorks work, and when they're done they can hand it over to someone who literally does publications or something similar along those lines, and then they can use this to create all the pictures or videos. You can do animations in this as well, or interactive online manuals, or PDFs, or interactive PDFs. Okay, so there's a fair number of things you can actually do in this package. So first thing that you tend to do once you've bought a product into this is to, if I go on to, I'm on the home tab here, that's good. I'm just going to go and align the camera to a specific origin, or sorry, a specific angle. Let's say that one there, and I'm just going to zoom in. Right, so, and I'm just going to take a snapshot. So these are what are called views. So very quickly you can build up the views that you want to then show in your manuals. Okay, so So I'm maybe not that one. Let's have a look at something else. No, I've done that one. Let's try that one. So I can insert that view as well. And if I'm not happy at the moment, you can see I zoomed in quite a bit on this view 1, but on view 2 it was quite far away, so I might just zoom in a bit on that. And then once I'm done, what I can do is just update that view. There you go, very nice and quick. Now, one thing that you do get when you bring in a part is normally a logo and a floor. Now, it's got the Dassault logo on it at the moment. You can add your own one if you want. You can actually turn the floor off or the logo off. So you don't have to use the Dassault logo if you don't want to, which you probably wouldn't want to. So next thing I'm going to do in here is let's think about translating some of these components. So I'm going to literally just pick this view here. Actually, it's probably not a good view to use for it. Let's try. If you don't want any of the standard views, you can just rotate it around and then just literally just take a view whenever you want. Let's say somewhere like that. That sounds good. And then I'm going to go onto this transform tab here, and I can quite easily just select a component and then just transform it. So literally just move it into another location. And then I'm going to do this component here. Now it does pick up a triad symbol, very similar to what you'd get in SolidWorks when you do an explode step. This one has a fair few options on it though, and I can align it to specific geometry in the model if I wanted to go a different direction from the triad as it's laid out now. So if I select this circle here, for instance, and then I can move it down, I know then it's in line with this pin here. So that's those two then moved out. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to move multiple ones at once. So you get this tab over here which is called the assembly. So basically this just shows me the architecture of how this part was built. So you can see here that I've got part symbols, yeah, from SolidWorks, which will pop through. I've also got my sub-assembly here with everything in it. And I can actually select things from this and turn them on and off. So for instance, if I didn't want to have part of this head on in a specific view, I can literally just select it to see where it is in the tree here. So it's this one called head. Turn it off, and then you'll notice it's been turned off here. So views, another thing they can do is show you whether or it remembers whether a component is on or off. So it does more than just control where the camera's sitting at that point in time. So the next thing I'm going to do is just go and select some things from this this pin arrangement here, this sub-assembly. So what I'm after is actually all these components here, and then I'm going to use the Alt key again to just realign the triad, and I'm going to push it down to about here. So I've moved loads of components at once there quite easily, and at this point I'm going to do a linear explode. So I'm going to select this linear button up here, and then let me just go and select those components that I want again. I can do it on the screen as well. If I hit the control button, I can then pick them. So let's say those components there, and then when I'm done I'm just going to select an edge to explode them in, and then you'll notice that they all explode in a specific order. So you can explode things, you don't have to explode them one at a time. Now in this instance I actually want to move this further up, so I'm just going to select it, and then I'm going to put it back onto the normal translate tool. I'm going to move that up to there, and then I'm going to use the control key to select these components here, align it down there, and then move these down. So it's something like that. And then from this, what I'm going to do is let me just save the snapshot of this now. So if I go back to views and then just hit the camera button here again, that's now saved on there. Now I may want to put some arrows on to dictate exactly how this thing is being pushed together. So what I can do is go onto this authors tab here. So there's quite a lot of annotations you can use on here. I'm going to select an arrow on this, and I'm just going to align it to a specific piece of geometry in here. So just let me just go and pick something, so something like that, and then I'm going to come and push it down all the way to here, like so. And so the arrow at the moment is pointing that way. Now actually if I want to say disassemble in this order, I want the arrow to go the other way, so not a problem. What I can do is select the arrow, and then down here you get the properties for whatever you click on in Composer. I can just literally, for this arrow, I can tell it to put the arrowhead at the other end, like so. And then I'm just going to make the arrow a bit smaller, and then I'm going to make the head a bit smaller as well. So let's say something like that. Actually, that's not too bad. Still a little bit big, but that's fine. There we go. And I might actually just make that a bit larger. Let's say something like that. There you go. So now I'm happy with that. Now that actually looks a little bit weird at the moment because it's actually on top of everything, and sometimes that's great. In this instance it's not, so what I'm going to do is just select it again, and then from the properties I'm just going to put untick, which says stay on top, and now you see it's actually going through the geometry how it was when I aligned it, so right down the middle, which looks quite good. So at this point I'm just literally going to, let me just arrange it again like so. And at this point I'm going to just update this view 3 that I made earlier. There we go. So that's some standard views put in now with some arrows. I'll very quickly show you some of the workshops in here, and I haven't got time to show them all unfortunately, but you can add a bomb into Pacific views. So what I'm going to do is just literally I'm going to make sure I get the right level and the actor name, which is good here, and I'm just going to generate some bombs. So here we go, I've got a bomb up here down the bottom here. So I can literally, at the moment this is linked to the bottom of my picture. It's actually fixed on top of it, so to speak, so if I move this around you'll notice it stays still. I'm just going to position it freely, so it means I can put it wherever I want. And let's say something like that. So that looks good. And then from that I can literally select everything in the list here and then generate some callouts for it. There we go. And these are actually linked to those parts now, so if I start moving it around you see that the actual leaders are still attached to the actual components, so if you're not quite happy with the arrangement you can move it around. And at this point I'm just going to go back to views, and then I'm just going to create a new view. There we go. So let me just go back to view 3 now, which doesn't have my bomb on it. Okay, and if I go back to view 2, this will then all collapse and then that arrow should be hidden. There we go. So views do more than just camera positions, as I said. There's quite a lot you can save in a view. I won't go into any detail now. You can turn certain items on and off, and I'll show you that in a second. So that's that now done. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to close this now, and I'm in true Blue Peter style. Going to show you one that I made earlier. So let me just go and select this one. So I've spent a little bit more time working on this one. So let's just have a look. I've got a number of different views in here. So basically I've gone through this and created different views with different parts assembled or removed. Okay, and some arrows put on. So let's go and have a look at some of them. So I've got this one here. Alright, so it's just literally the main body and then this this trigger lock. And let's have a look at this bottom one down here. So we've got that one there. There we go. And there's quite a few in here, and then what you can do is create animations from those. This is actually going back to something I said earlier. As I said, you can turn components on and off. And one thing you can do with that is you can also create bombs for a specific number of products or items, so to speak, that you've got in Composer. So here I've just literally got the pin assembly, which is actually the sub-assembly from SolidWorks with its own bomb. So you don't have to have a bomb of everything. You can actually have an entire or a subset of information. Okay, so that's another bomb, slightly different, it's laid out, and these ones are actually attached to what's called a magnet line. So these ones you can actually move the magnet line about, and then all the bomb balloons will follow it. It makes it very tidy. You can move it around very quickly. Okay, so this has actually got an animation. Okay, so now my timeline's now loaded. What I'm going to do is just show you something that I've made earlier. So literally what you can do with these keys is literally just, what I've done is just drag certain views from here and just drag and drop them straight onto this timeline. And then from that I can build up a video. So if you want to do more than just show pictures in a book, for instance, you can actually create an animation very quickly of this component being assembled, or how it's made, for instance. So let's just have a look at this. So this animation probably took me about an hour and a half to make. Okay, it's got a fair number of steps in it. It's fairly long, but I say it doesn't take very long to do it. It's fairly easy. So that's called a digger there. So you can actually zoom in on certain components. There we go. So we've got a cut through plane there as well, and it's on a loop. So let me just turn that off. Right. So that's an animation that you can actually create, and you can make very crisp animations. What I'll do is, after I've finished this, on the website there will actually be a video which you can download and watch, which will be basically what you've just seen there in full HD. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do in here, let's just have a look. If I go back to normal view mode. Alright, so under workshops we've got something called high resolution image. So in here I can create raster images, so basically things like JPEG and PNG. Okay, what I'm going to do in here is actually you can output all your images in one go. So you can do it individually or whatever you're looking at the screen at that moment in time. But what I'm going to do here is just output a few. Now, this is great for you created a product, someone's made some changes to the product, you've then re-imported it into there, not started from scratch, just re-imported those components, because you can do that in Composer. And then from that you can literally just output these pictures again and not have to worry about doing them one at a time. So let me just have a look at some of the pictures that I've already got. So at the moment I've got these pictures, alright, which is outputted, alright, and I've actually got a document here which was done in Word, and at the moment you can see that this is an assembly instruction manual. Okay, at the moment all these pictures have this blue background which looks a little bit weird at the moment. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through in Composer, I'm going to update all these pictures, and then when I load my Word document it's going to be updated in here. So you can link in Word, for instance, to specific pictures, so it's a good way of not having to worry about if you do have to make any changes, you don't have to go and re-add them all the time into Word. Bear in mind you can do this in other packages as well, for things like Illustrator, and other Adobe packages, and I'm sure you'll be able to do it in more than just Adobe and Word. So what I'm going to do is just take note of this first picture, for instance, all these pictures, and I'm just going to close this. Okay, so I'm just going to save it now. So I'm going to hit save. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to replace the background. There's a tick box actually in high resolution here which is called white background. I'm just going to turn this on, and then if I go save as again and then hit save as, when you look at this now it will go through and update all those pictures with a white background. So that means when I go and have a look in my Word document now, you can see that all the pictures are now with a white background, which is what we want. So it looks much better. So very quickly I've managed to change every picture in a technical documentation with ease. Alright, now another thing you can do in here is create technical illustration documents. So I'm not going to go through what all these do, there's a lot of choices you can do in here. So what I'm going to do is literally just go and show you something that you can output from this. So let's have a look at this one, for instance. So there we go, we've got some an interactive bomb here which shows the component. Alright, so these are vector graphics. So it doesn't matter how much you zoom in on them, they'll always be very crisp because they're done using mathematics rather than pixel count. So there's one. Let's do another one. So we've got a trigger here as well. There we go. I do get the question, can I import these into other packages? Do I have to use them in Explorer? The answer is yes, you can do that. I believe you can get it into Adobe, for instance. Another thing, the reason it mainly outputs in this way is because you can create interactive manuals using the this format. Okay, so I can, for instance, start with a component, and then literally I can click on it, and then it will go to that sub-assembly, for instance. And you can create online manuals. So if you don't want to have just a piece of paper that you give to someone and say, look, you can look on this website, and we've got the full assembly instructions or a brochure on the product, you can do that. It will output. So if I go back into Composer, when I go to the File menu and go Publish, you can publish it to HTML files. Another thing you can do is publish it to a PDF. So let me just save over this one again that I made earlier. It'll just go through, have a look at all the views, and then when I go and have a look at that, PDF, you can see all the different views are here. And another thing you can do with these, which is very cool, is literally you can zoom in and move them about. Okay, so it's not just a view, alright, it's an interactive PDF, which can help people understand exactly what you're trying to portray in your manuals or what the product's about. Okay, I think that's all the time we've got for this, unfortunately, guys. If you do have any further questions regarding it, feel free to get in contact with us. So our support email's down here. We've also got a phone number that if you're interested in the actual SolidWorks Composer. Okay, thanks for watching.